Eat, yes, they would. Humans are,
Creatures survive.
they survive, exactly.
Can I tell you this much?
And you can't blame them for it.
Before I went to the middle, I'm a radical middle.
How dare you?
I used.
In this video, we're back with Bill Maher and his Club Random podcast. Bill Maher and his liberal actor guests discuss Fox News and Tucker Carlson. With that, let's watch Bill Maher melt down over Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, everybody's a thief. We can't feel bad about that.
Very few things are original.
No. And I would like to say right now that we are standing on land that rightfully belongs to the proud Chumash people.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible about it.
But who did they conquer it from, too?
And I will be giving it back on Monday. No, exactly. Who did they conquer it from? Exactly.
It's hard, right? I'm never sure about it. I know that 80% of what I think is probably true, 20% of what I pretty much think I'm sure about will change. So walk carefully. That's why I think we should all, as human beings, learn to debate with each other in a civilized way.
Well, and with perspective, one of the stupidest things about wokeness is the absolute abject ignorance about history and putting things into perspective. And so they only see the bad side of America, which is not to be denied and not to be not taught, of course. But they only see that, and they don't realize that because they don't care about history. They don't think it even happened if they weren't alive for it. But if you go back, everybody in history was terrible, horrible, racist, genocidal, like everything.
Native Americans had slaves.
Of course.
Black people had slaves.
Black people gathered the slaves
for others to
sell them to the slave
enemies.
trade.
I mean, white people were slaves.
I say it many times. Humans are not good people. Humans are not good people.
Are good people, but they have been awful too. We can't just call humans awful all the time, or else we wouldn't have society.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
How did we get here?
Humans are not awful all the time, but if I had to bet, like on a random situation, it's like, will this human, if it comes down to like...
I'm glad to know that there are sane liberals that are having the conversation these two gentlemen are having. This truly sounds like two conservatives talking to me. Like, there's blood on every country's flag. Every country, every people, every nation has done some really awful things. But collectively, countries have done some really wonderful things too. Specifically in the United States, we've created the greatest society in the history of Western civilization. Do you think that that should be diminished because of the personal lives or habits or customs of the time or practices of the time that one individual that was involved in building this country engaged in? It's just crazy. It's just the first time I've ever seen two liberals acknowledge, like, even with the Native American stuff. I'm like Bill too. He said it's not like we shouldn't acknowledge it and teach it. I totally agree. Just teach the truth. The Native Americans were here, but where I was going is I've never heard two liberals have this conversation about how far in history do you want to go back to say whose land is who. There were cavemen conquering cavemen, and then there were tribes conquering tribes, and then there were bigger tribes, and they conquer the little tribes. And throughout history, groups have done awful things to other groups to expand their group. And if you're a human being, in your past somewhere is the oppression of other people, or the colonizing, as other people like the progressives like to say. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Eat or be eaten. Eat, yes, they would. Humans are,
Creatures survive.
They survive, exactly.
Can I tell you this much?
And you can't blame them for it.
Before I went to the middle, I'm a radical middle.
How dare you?
I used to get crap from conservatives because I would post things like the massacres of the Taino Indians, of, the Black Wall Street, horrible things that happened to people of color.
The Tulsa massacre?
The Tulsa, yeah, dude. Rosewood, all kinds of things, horrible things.
Our history is horrible.
And they would say, why are you race baiting? And I'm like, I'm not race baiting. This was not good,
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
I'm just saying, I just don't want us to forget so that we don't repeat. I'm not trying to make white people feel bad. I'm trying to say, hey, this happened. Why did this happen? And can we make sure we never let it happen again? And then when I say anything that's not the left narrative, They're like, what is wrong with
It-
you?
it's
Are you one of those? What are you, a right winger?
it's so infuriating.
Here's what, I used to not like certain people on Fox News, and then I grew to understand them. So I still kind of, it's hard to take some, just hard, just
I
because
never
of
see it.
the tone.
I don't watch any cable news.
But here's
Jake
the,
Tapper, I like Jake.
But I grew to respect Tucker Carlson a lot more.
Really?
Yeah. And he was one of those people that I couldn't take, especially when he debated Jon Stewart and he got like creamed. Remember that?
I can't take him now.
There were some things that he says that I get it. Here's my point. I get my conservative friends and I get my liberal friends. And I don't like it when my conservatives paint all liberals as libtards and my liberal friends paint all conservatives as fascists. It's just not the case.
That's not the case. But Tucker Carlson is a douchebag, and I can prove it.
I did another video with this guy as the guest, and I said the same thing. I don't agree with this guy on much, but I do believe his heart's in the right place. And I do agree with him that I wish we could just have more conversations. Look, all I do is make fun of liberals all day and talk about how they're in their bubble. I'm always very outspoken about myself, saying I genuinely try to see both sides. But come on, I'd be a liar if I'm not in a right-wing bubble. I mean, that's the content I like. And I literally spend my time looking for things to make fun of about the left. But there's nothing wrong with that. But it does put me in a little bubble. So people get in their little bubbles, and this guy's right. But I like the way this guy says he handles his personal life. Maybe even if I don't agree, I understand where Tucker Carlson's coming from. And I don't want to speak for the guy, but it sounds like he understands why it would resonate with some people. And then he says, I understand my conservative friends and I understand my liberal friends. I'm sure I sound corny, but I think that's something we should all aspire to do, because I don't really have any conservative friends. Like, my friends are liberal, and they're my friends because they're wonderful in 8 billion other ways. However, I don't understand them. And they're my close friends. But knowing the people that they are and their values, it doesn't make sense to me when it turns political, how I have nothing in common with this person, how they view the world. So I guess my point is that's something I aspire to myself. I want to be more understanding of other people. As much as I like to make fun and call out a-hole politicians and the manipulation and the lies of the left, which there is a lot of, I don't care as much about the politicians and the party leaders. I'd like to understand more average Americans who probably are more center, are probably closer to one another than they realize. I think those people are worth trying to understand a little more. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Let's wrap up the video.
They have his texts during the 2020 election thing when he was saying privately, this is the one they were sued about. Fox News paid something like $787 million to the Dominion voting people, I think.
I've heard things about that will make you think twice about that. So yes, I know where you're going with that, but when I don't like is when the news tells me something that before it's figured out. When everybody says
I don't think that's a disputable thing. Fox News definitely did pay over $700 million to settle a lawsuit because they were saying that the election wasn't kosher. And the texts that we have from Tucker Carlson tell us he knows it too, but he was saying it on the air. I'll give a lot of people a lot of rope, but that is a level I can't go
Why don't
to.
you have him on this
being
show
caught.
and ask him about that?
I would.
I would love to see that.
He would never do it because
Does anybody watching this think Tucker Carlson's scared one iota of sitting down with Bill Maher? I'd love to see that conversation. It would not end well for Bill Maher. And as far as liberals go, I don't despise Bill Maher, but Bill Maher wouldn't come out of that looking good. So he might want to be glad that they haven't had a sit-down interview. But we want to hear from you. What do you guys think about this conversation between Bill Maher and his guest on the Club Random podcast? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.